Illinois is not the 11th best team in the country. Let's be real. They're going to lose to Duke this weekend. They're going to lose to Duke. I got the overrated and underrated teams for the AP poll. My overrated teams is going to be Illinois. Illinois is not the 11th best team in the country. Let's be real. They're going to lose to Duke this weekend. They're going to lose to Duke. This notion that we brought back all these players, the returning production, Luke Altmaier is back, we're just guaranteed to be this really good football team. Illinois is in rare air. They have not been in a position like this with this many expectations in a long time. I don't have faith that they're going to meet them. This team reminds me of an 8-4 football program. Arizona State, I think, is slightly overrated. I think they're not the best team in the Big 12. And the team that's on my underrated radar, Utah. I think Utah is a better football team than Arizona State. Now, Kenny Dillingham's one of my favorite head coaches. They're on upset alert for Mississippi State. That's just the truth. They're on upset alert. Traveling to Mississippi State, those bells, they'll be ringing in your ear. I can guarantee you that. They are on upset alert. I think Ohio State's slightly overrated. That's just because I don't see them as the number one team in the country. I see Penn State as a better football team because as much as their defense looked incredible against Texas, and we've talked about it today that maybe Texas's reputation is a little bit better than their production against good teams, but Penn State has an incredibly good defense, and I think their offense and the continuity there is way more proven than Julian Sayin, Peoples, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. It's not like they're in a major gap in between the two. I still have Ohio State as a top 3 team in the country, but by definition, if I were to say this team's overrated, you should always ask the question, well, what are they rated? And because they're the number 1 team in the country, I think they're slightly overrated. South Carolina is another program that I think had an incredible fourth quarter against Virginia Tech. But they also had three little, not great quarters. Sellers still has some weaknesses. I'm still curious on outside of Nick Harbor, aka DK Metcalf 2.0. What do they have in the receiving game? Because I think there was a lot of moments where Virginia Tech had a chance to really take a grasp of that football game, but Kyron Drones does make some very inaccurate throws. Their defense did have some really good moments, so I won't deny that, but I still think South Carolina, not to be the top 10 team in the country. I think that's being very heavily favored into what Lenore Sellers has. For underrated programs, like I said, Texas A&M is the top 10 team in the country for me. They're at number 19 on the AP poll. I just think the identity that Texas A&M has is something that you can really take home to the bank and trust. And if they elevate to another level in a sense that they have another gear in the passing attack, because that's not what I expected from them. I expected Le'Veon Moss, Amari Daniels, Reuben Owens, and Marcel Reed to put up the most potent rushing attack in the country, not just SEC, in the country, more than Penn State. And obviously, Le'Veon Moss coming off of an ACL tear. They're definitely being a little bit conservative in their playbook and their play calling, knowing that Notre Dame, has a bye week, and they'll play them in week 3 on the road. It wouldn't shock me if they play Utah State very light. But if their defense also takes a step, which I like some of their secondary pieces, I think A&M is a little underrated. Florida State. I'm going to stick on this one for a little bit. Florida State should be ranked higher than where they are right now. Truthfully, I think people are being conservative with how much they hype up Florida State. Because if you forgot Alabama was a national title contender in my eyes, I then should have Florida State very high. Because not only did they beat Alabama, they beat down Alabama. They made it definitive. That game for moments felt like it was dead in the water because Florida State would get 2-3 yards of push against a very talented program. Alabama has everything available at their disposal to be one of the best programs in the country, but Florida State out-effort them, put in the work, and had one of the most creative play designs in the country. Shout out to Gus Malzahn and Tommy Castellanos. Obviously, this team may not go undefeated, but we've been able to see a Mike Norvell team be a top 10 team in the country. Why wait? In my eyes, they beat my number 2 team in the country going into the season. Why should I wait and not have them virtually on the edge of a top 10 team in the country? I understand they got shot up to number 14. I still think that's a little bit underrated. Also, Utah. I think Utah being at 25, if they got an elite quarterback, Utah's going to be the best team in the Big 12. You know their defense is going to be good. You know their offense with the offensive coordinator change that has also played with Devin Dampier. If you do not know about Devin Dampier now, you got to get to know him at some point because that dude's going to be a star and they could be potentially playing in AT&T Stadium for the Big 12 title game. Everyone wants to talk about Kenny Dillingham and how good TCU is and mention TCU. I think TCU should be ranked. I understand North Carolina wasn't that damn good of a football team. I think TCU was borderline a top 25 team going into the season. And with how well they played and how much push they were consistently getting in both the rushing attack and the passing attack, Josh Hoover looking like a top 10 quarterback in the country, TCU should be in conversations to be potentially a top 25 team in the country, a college football playoff contender, because their offense looks incredible. And if that defense takes a leap, I get it. It's North Carolina. It's more to say I think TCU looked really damn good. And the last team, I still think USC should be top 25. I think USC still is going to shock some people. I love the fact that the notion and narrative around USC is so quiet. No one's talking about USC right now. No one's talking about them because they didn't play anybody. Jaden Mayava threw the ball around. They had a bunch of points. It's Lincoln Riley. It's just what kind of happens. But if they can sneakily keep pushing the narrative that they're going to be underrated, I'm going to buy more stock. Just keep them low. And then they're going to go play Illinois, and I think they go beat Illinois, and that's when the train happens. That's when everything moves forward and the hype begins because they have 2 first-round picks, arguably, with Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane, and Jay Mayava can just be a point guard. They have a lot of guys on that team that people aren't talking about enough. I really like USC this season. We're running out of time. We'll talk about wide receiver U, I think, on the Sunday show because, like I said, be on the lookout for week 2. Week 2 is still going to be a week that you need to have a pulse on because there's a lot of great games. Go watch the Tuesday show. We broke down a lot of these games. Keep a pulse on them, but we're going to run out of some topics. We're going to run out of some things unless some crazy things really do happen. And I'm projecting some to happen. We'll talk about wide receiver U because I do think that'd be a fun topic of discussion. Talking about Ohio State, LSU. Alabama has an argument. They do. Don't forget about Alabama towards the late of the 2020s. They also get Julio Jones. But with that in mind, that was the Stadium Pulse. Thank you guys so much for today's show. I will see you on Sunday when we recap week 2 and talk some more college football because that's all we do around here. I'll see you then.